Until now, we only used one pentatonic over one chord, like A minor pentatonic over an A minor chord. But now we take it one step further. We will go into the superimposition area. Here's a little theoretical background. The C major scale contains 3 minor pentatonics, which are A minor, D minor, and E minor. These 3 pentatonics combined equal the C major scale. So you might ask, why not just play the C major scale instead of combining those 3 pentatonics? Well, one reason is you might have pentatonic licks. Another reason is in a pentatonic, every guitar player automatically plays differently because they play different intervals, they're very comfortable with the scale, and use bigger intervals. Usually when you ask somebody to improvise in a scale, at the beginning, they rather play the scale up and down and don't know too much what to do with it, because there are just too many notes. In a pentatonic, you just jump around, everything is fine, and you can come up with nice melodies. Now we will listen to a C major 7 chord looped, and I will just play you the 3 pentatonics. And I have one little remark here. There are certain modes. This mode is called Ionian, that have a so-called avoid note. You will instantly hear it. It sounds much more complicated than it actually is. This note, the avoid note, is on one hand a characteristic note. On the other hand, it's also a note that wants to be resolved. So I will point it out when I play it. Or I can actually say it right now. In C major, the note F is not the note we want to milk. I'll give you an example. Here's the chord. So if I land on the note F, this F has the natural tendency to go down to the E. So the D minor pentatonic that I pointed out that you can use contains the F. And it wants to be resolved. Still, it is part of the C major scale, and sometimes it's nice to play that note F and resolve it after that, just to make sure everyone knows we are playing in the Ionian mode. Okay, here is the example. So this was the Ionian mode. I just used those 3 pentatonics, using all the fingerings, or a couple of fingerings that I explained before. And you heard the note F wants to be resolved. Okay, so let's just resolve it. Still, it's part of the scale, and it's the only way to distinguish it from Lydian, which we will come back a little later. The next mode is, in this case now, D Dorian. D Dorian, or D minor 7, is the 2nd scale degree of C. And the good news is I can play the exact same pentatonics over a D Dorian chord. Here we go. Note that in D Dorian, the note 6, which is the B, that's the characteristic note. That's the 6, the Dorian note. Okay, we're moving on. The next mode would be E Phrygian. The good news again, I can play the exact same pentatonic scales over that. A minor, D minor, and E minor. Let's hear it. B Phrygian, the note F might not be the most stable note, but it's the avoid note, but it's a very characteristic note to it. It's the so-called flat 9. It's in a scale, you have it, and if you feel you should resolve it, resolve it. The next mode is F Lydian. Again, I will use all the same scales, A minor pentatonic, D minor pentatonic, and E minor pentatonic. Here we go. The good thing about F Lydian, or Lydian in general, the characteristic note, the sharp 11, which is in this case the note B, is one of the notes that we are looking for to actually find out it's Lydian. Next mode is Mixolydian. That goes over a G7 chord. And here I have one thing to say, which is there is only one pentatonic out of those three that contains the third of the chord, which is, if you watched my web lesson on lick library about the guide tones, which is a very important note. And the other ones, the A minor and the D minor, they contain the fourth. So we're basically maneuvering between a sus4 sound and a dominant 7 sound. Again, if you feel you should resolve anything, just resolve it. You're probably right. Here it is. The next mode is called Aeolian, or also natural minor. The characteristic note, or sometimes even avoid note, is the flat 6, which is in this case in A minor the note F. Still, it's the note that you need to really make clear you're playing Aeolian. Here we go. And finally, we reach the 7th mode of a C major scale, which is B minor 7 flat 5. The mode is called Locrian. The avoid note is again the flat 9, but this mode will never be, or is not that I know of, is never used for a steadily sustaining chord or for a long sustaining chord. There is no modal piece that I know of, which doesn't mean anything, but in Locrian. Still, we need it in some harmonic situations, and here we go. Here is B Locrian. That was B Locrian, mostly followed by some E7 dominant chord leading into some A minor chord, but that would be an entire different story.